Hi guys, welcome to Football Unspoken, the home of unique football takes. Now, let's get to the episode. Hi Rob. So I want to talk today about small club mentality. Along with that topic, I'm going to get into the trivia question and say that in 2009, a certain manager coined the term small club mentality. Can you tell me who you think that manager might be?
It's surely got to be Jose. If it's not Jose, I'm going to feel very silly being this confident. But Jose's got all those little all those little quotations. So I'm going to go Jose surely.
Fascinatingly, it's not Jose Mourinho. It was actually Sir Alex Ferguson. And he said it in response to Manchester City's purchase of Carlos Tevez. He called Manchester City out and said, it's a small club with a small club mentality. So that takes me to the main question of the day, which is actually, is small club mentality a real thing? Or is that just a buzzword or a buzz phrase that the media keeps throwing around to try and get more clicks or views?
It's 100% a buzzword. It's like, that's why I thought it was going to be Jose Mourinho. You know, it's the Arsene Wenger specialist in failure. You know, it's that level of just trying to get people to buy in and look at them. And small club mentality, I just don't think there's such a thing, if you get what I mean. Like, no club wants to be a small club. If the only club you kind of look at is maybe a Luton or a Bournemouth, and even then you're like, you can't call them small clubs. They've got thousands of fans and they've got history now. They're small relative to, you know, your Barcelonas and that, but like I don't think you can ever call a Premier League team a small club realistically. You can compare them, sure, but if you make the Premier League, you're known worldwide. Like it's what happens when you get there. I think small club mentality is just, it's one of those to kind of bait in fans and create debate, just encourage rage. You know, it's that rage bait kind of nonsense. Because I couldn't explain to you what small club mentality would be, I would say.
So it's interesting that you say that, because I feel the other way, that it is a real thing. And my reason is, there's actually a quote I've got here as well from Pep Guardiola. And he said very recently, in fact, big clubs make big decisions. And he was saying that in regards to selling some of Man City's biggest players in the last year, Sterling, Cole Palmer this last season, Jesus and Zinchenko to Arsenal. And when I look at Liverpool this year, I think Liverpool have had a small club mentality with regards to transfers. They've pretty much single-handedly lost the Premier League title because they weren't willing to go buy a real defensive midfielder. They've bought Endo, who I'm not hating on Endo. I'm just saying he is not at the same caliber as a Declan Rice, Caicedo, those kind of centre defensive mid. They've gone into the season without a sort of title-winning centre defensive mid because they weren't prepared to spend the money on one. And now they've pretty much thrown away the title in Klopp's final year because of it. And to me, that's small club mentality. I don't know if you disagree, but
we're gonna have a fight here. I'm gonna say he's turned me into a raging Liverpool fan. We're gonna have a fight. I just don't see it, man. Honestly, because you're talking about this central defensive midfielder, Caicedo. They went after Caicedo. They had a budget to go after Caicedo, and Chelsea came in and blew their budget up. And Chelsea are now under suspicion for FFP. And they're going to have to sell a bunch of players. I don't know how much, but it's known that Chelsea now have to sell players because they went and spent 105 million or 110 million on Caicedo, who's not a 105 or 110 million pound player, but he could have been a 75 million pound player. Liverpool went in for Caicedo with that amount of money and then got blown out of the water by, realistically, a club who could be found to have broken spending. And Liverpool haven't broken spending rules. So I don't think you can say that just because they didn't go and break spending rules that they've got a small club mentality. And then on Pep Guardiola's thing, selling your good players when your entire bench is 11 players who'd start in almost every other team is a nonsense. It's a nonsense comment. Now, you can't go there and say, well, yeah, Newcastle have a small club mentality if they don't sell Alexander Isak. Like, no, we don't have a backup for it. What are we meant to do? Whereas Man City just spent 100 million on Grealish. And we're like, well, we don't need 800 wingers, so why don't we sell Sterling? Like, that's it. It's not a good comment to make. Essentially, you know, you can't be going, Yeah, because I get to spend loads of money so I can sell whoever I want. I am a big club and you're a small club. That's nonsensical, to be honest.
Fair enough. I've actually got, today's a day of quotes, and I've got one more for you on this to maybe try to, about this. I'm staying on Liverpool, but I'm giving you throwing you a different quote now. So Rio Ferdinand, earlier in 2023, Liverpool played Manchester United. Liverpool won, and there was huge celebrations from everyone involved. The next week, they went and played Bournemouth, and they lost. And Rio Ferdinand came out on socials and said, that's an embarrassment. It's a small club mentality. In terms of celebrating like that one week, but then losing the very next week. And just going back into the thing about, is that media hype again? As in he's putting out that word, small club mentality, to try and downplay Liverpool as a football club? Or you still disagree he's got a point there?
It's just a buzzword again. It's just he's trying to bait in Liverpool fans. It's the same thing as Arsenal getting these celebration police out this year. It's like, you won a game in the Premier League. You're allowed to celebrate. You're in a title race. You're allowed to celebrate. Like, you should be, as a fan and as a team, you should be wanting to win every single game as much as the next. Don't get me wrong, a win against Manchester City probably means more in a title race than a win against Sheffield United. But both give you 3 points. Both take you towards that total number of points that you will need to win a title. And this idea that just because you're beating a so-called small club means that you can't celebrate as much is, again, it's just a nonsense idea. And it's this culture in football that's started to come around. Again, a lot of it I feel like comes out of that COVID time when people couldn't go and watch, you couldn't go and celebrate with your teams. So now people are trying to make up for it. It's over-celebrating a lot of the time. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I use the term over-celebrating because that's what's said. But I just think people want to be part of the vibe again. They want to enjoy football. And this idea that celebrating a win over a relegation team in the same way that you celebrate a win over a title challenger, like it's the same number of points. It's the same goal that you're going towards. And this idea that you've got a small club mentality because you're celebrating the same way, again, it's buzzwords. And if the definition of small club mentality is not having the money to go ahead and buy players, not having the squad to go ahead and sell players, and celebrating your wins, then honestly, every single club in the world is a small club. Has small club mentality. It's complete. In my view, it's complete nonsense. I'm not sure if my impassioned rant has swayed you at all.
I actually think that final criteria you've laid out, because those are the criteria normally that people, or part of the criteria people would list for a small club. Something I do want to end on, and I'm being very serious when I say this, is as an Arsenal fan over the last 10 years, I've seen quite a development in Arsenal's mentality, I would say, towards transfers in particular. I think I've seen the years of trying to go 40 million plus £1 for Suarez, to lose Suarez because you just were bothered about £1. I've seen the Pepe transfer just throwing out 72 or 80 million on a player who had literally one good season in France, to a change of philosophy on maybe a Declan Rice. Now, I know that looks like I'm saying, going 40 to 80 to 120. That sounds like saying to spend more money. I don't mean it like that. Even the Trossard transfer maybe is a better example of what I was saying than the Declan Rice. I'm talking about before the transfer window starts, you decide this is the players I'm going after and this is how much I'm willing to spend. Obviously at a fair market value, because if you go too low, they're not going to accept the bid. And you go straight away as the window opens, you go get the players you needed for those positions. Where I think Arsenal in the past, it was a bit like, yeah, we sort of need a striker. Okay, maybe we can get Suarez around this amount. Okay, they said no. Can we try throwing a little pound here? And I think you could mirror my experience as an Arsenal fan for a lot of fans at other clubs. Like Manchester United fans right now, I think could tell you very similar stories in the last 10 years about when David Moyes bought Fellaini from Everton. He had a sell clause, I think at 22 million or something around that number that Moyes was aware of. he said we should get him. Man, he fiddled around for Frankie de Jong in that transfer window, didn't get him, and then went back for Fellaini and got him for like 28 or 26 or something like that. Now, that's an old transfer, but I think a lot of fans have similar stories at their club. So that's where decisions like that, the Suarez plus £1 and the Fellaini waiting to the end of the window, because you didn't quite format your transfer, let's say, market idea philosophy before the thing started. To me, that's kind of encapsulate maybe what a fair usage of the word small club mentality is. It's not a clear direction for the club. And I'm going to, before I let you answer, I'm going to direct this back to what sort of Ferguson said about it's a small club with a small mentality. I think what he meant by that at the time, all the way back in 2009, is he's talking about clubs with no direction, which are just making big transfers or just spending big amounts of money without any end product. I know Man City in that case did have an end product, but I think that's what he meant at the time.
I can kind of see what you mean in terms of not having a direction. I mean, a directionless club. I mean, you look at Chelsea, to be honest, this year, it's just buying every youngster who's rated in any way. That's all they've done. Like, most of their transfers have been under the age of 25 for over 50 million, because those are the kind of players that you think are going to sell well. But I don't attribute that to a small club mentality. I think in terms of Arsenal, I would go back to, it's a bit of arrogance. With Luis Suarez, it was a bit of arrogance, because am I wrong in saying it was Wenger?
Wenger.
It was Wenger. And Wenger, as great a manager he was, he had an air of absolute arrogance about him, in the fact that every single player in the world would want to play under him. And there's nothing wrong with it, but that was it. Every single player should want to play for him. So if I go and vote Luis Suarez, even if Liverpool offer more money, Luis Suarez should want to come and play for me. It's the same thing with Man United, when it was an air of arrogance around, we can go get Frankie de Jong. Frankie de Jong will want to come to us. And then they've gone, actually, they won't. Backup plan. So I don't think that just boils down to a small club mentality. There's a lot of factors in play in that. But I do agree with, I think the only thing I'd say comes close to a small club mentality would be that directionless kind of buy everything you see, like Nottingham Forest, buy everything you see, try and get all these players in to make sure you're staying in the Premier League. It's probably a bit of a small club mentality, rather than going, let's just consolidate, try and survive relegation this year. If we don't, let's bounce back in the Championship next season. I feel like that's a better mentality to have when you are a smaller club. Like the Lutons, where they've done fantastic business. They shouldn't have been. They should have been 20th. Realistically, that's what everyone thought they were going to be.
Yeah,
and great business with an understanding that realistically, if they get relegated this season, they've got a very good chance of bouncing straight back up. I can't see that happening for Sheffield United. I can't see that happening for Nottingham if they do go down. Like, those are not clubs I can see bouncing back just because of the way they've conducted their transfers. And that's where I will say I do agree with this idea of a small club mentality. But overall, it's just become a buzzword. It's just become a way to criticize specifically title challenges and big team rivals, criticize each other with this idea of you've got a small club mentality because you're not pushing for the big wins. And it's like, no, it's the same thing. The best example I can think of is when Arsenal went to the Etihad and drew 0-0 with Manchester City. Everyone was going, that's a small club mentality. You had the chance to beat a Manchester City that was depleted. You could have gone in there and pretty much won the title. Also, nonsense. If you beat Man City, doesn't guarantee you winning the title. You've still got 8 other games to win. But this idea that I was a small club mentality, no, it's not. They've gone to the Etihad, one of the hardest places to go in the world, and come away with a very well thought point that will do them so much good in the run-in to that championship. And I think it's used as a bit of a stick to beat these clubs with, who when you can't understand the decisions they're making.
Yeah, no, this was actually a really great debate in the end. So I'm going to wrap it up there and say that Rob's probably convinced me more than I convinced him today about whether small club mentality is a real thing or a buzzword. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did today. if you stuck around to the end, then please drop us a comment or a like. We appreciate it. And let us know if you have any football unspoken topics you'd like us to cover next time. Until then, have a good one.